Welcome to the Tuesday, October 18th, 2022 City Council meeting. Would you please all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Number 3 is roll call, please.
Bergman.
Here.
Nichols.
Here.
Osborne. Here. Siebel.
Here.
Smock.
Here.
Number 4 on our agenda is approval of the October 18th, 2022 agenda.
So moved.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 5, approval of the October 4th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
So moved. Support.
Roll call, please.
Osborne.
Yes.
Siebel.
Yes.
Smock.
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
We have Rick Nolan and Tom Nichols here tonight to discuss a park board update regarding our youth softball.
Good evening. It's been a long 10, 11 months.
Is that on?
I don't know, is this on?
Can you just
It's green.
Yeah, test.
Test. You still hear me?
Yeah.
Don't whisper.
We can hear you.
All right. Anyway, late last year, Mayor DeWater approached the park board about taking over the contract softball complex. As you well know, over the last couple of years, we've had a lot of people come and complain, both to the city, and I think we've also had some at the park board. And so I approached the park board in January on that subject, and we started implementing or drafting a new contract for the UYSA complex. In August of this year, or meeting in August, we had a meeting here that we opened it up to the public for their comments, that sort of thing. This place was packed. I mean, we had standing room only. We had people all the way sitting all the way to the back of the doors behind us. That's how packed this place was. We had both pros and cons as far as UYSA was concerned. Problem is we probably had more cons than we had pros. We went from there, basically. Rick Nolan and I, who have both been, Steve knows very well, we've both been involved with EYSA over the years. Rick is a past president. I'm one of the past vice presidents of the board. And so we are the ones, the two board members that generally had a general working knowledge of how EYSA was to work and how it was supposed to go on. One of the biggest complaints that they had was there had been no elections down there. According to their bylaws, we're supposed to have elections every year for officers, and apparently for the last roughly 4 or 5 years at least, there's been no elections down there. They've been appointing their board members. So that was a big issue in that. So we drafted a new contract and taken it in front of the city attorney. The city attorney approved it, and I did get a copy of that in their packets.
I did not.
You did not? I'm sorry. If I'd have known that, I'd brought you all copies. Anyway, just a couple of things that we put in the contract from the other one. The last city contract was only about a page long, page and a half. This is now 2.5 pages. Some of the things that we put in there, number one, foremost was liability insurance. The other contract had nothing in there about insurance whatsoever that they were supposed to carry. So that was in there. Also, they have to follow their bylaws. They're also responsible for all mowing, maintenance, and upkeep, the development of the park. Any improvements that they want to make, such as building new structures and that sort of thing, they need to bring it to the park board and have park board approval before that happens. Concession stands must be required to pass annual inspections by the health department. We don't know if that was being done before or not. One of the big things is that between April and October, a member of their board has to attend one of our meetings each month. So one of their directors, I don't care if it's the chairman, don't care if it's the lowest director on the list, somebody from that board needs to attend our meetings once a month. Basically, the reason we did that is to open up the lines of communication between us and them. If there's issues, if there's problems, that sort of thing, hopefully we can nip it in the bud before it gets out of control. Also, each month they're supposed to give us a detailed written report as to showing their monthly revenues and expenditures. Not that we're want to be nosy and see what they're bringing in, but more so that they have the resources and the finances to take care of the place down there. That's where we're at with that. Those are some of the additional items we put into the contract. I'm going to have Rick come up here and kind of go over some of the things that we went through. Actually, let's go back. Shortly after we had that meeting in August, we met with the board down in the complex. We did a tour of the complex down there, and there's a lot of discrepancies down there that we found. I'll go over those here in a little bit, but we've met with both sides probably, what?
At least twice each, probably 3 times.
Each over the last couple months since August. So I'm going to turn it over to Rick to give some of the other things that we found, and then I'll be back to tell you some of the maintenance issues that we noted.
Okay, so the 3 areas that we felt we were asked to address and look into were the facility maintenance, which Tom was going to talk about. Another was, we kind of grouped it together, it was the atmosphere at the ballpark, and that has to do with perhaps there are some issues of bullying, communication with teams, and being consistent in the way they applied the rules. We kind of all put that into one. And that was probably one of the tougher ones to feel which group had a better grasp on. Both had some good ideas, and both were aware that it was a problem and something that seriously needed to be addressed. So it wasn't really a documented plan by EYSA, but they had some ideas on how to improve it. They felt a big part of it would be they were going with no assigned umpires. Basically, you show up at a game, you bring a coach or somebody from the stands, they umpire the game, they call the game the way they see fit, not necessarily one of the rules, which of course leads to arguments and so on. And then from there, they didn't necessarily react to anything that came out that consistently. So they felt like if they could get regular umpires, apply the rules equally, that they could at least improve in that way. From the Cedar Valley group, we didn't. They have a definite plan. Don't get me wrong, and I think their plan likely includes having regular umpires. But they were very serious about knowing that that was the reason they really exist. The atmosphere at the ballpark. They felt that was the biggest thing driving the lack of communication, the lack of consistency, and it's something they're putting at the forefront of what they're going to bring, what they're going to provide to help improve the atmosphere. And I feel very confident in what they're saying and what they're doing, and that's going to be good. The other thing we were asked to address is the finances. One of the primary complaints that were to the council, to the park board, where is the money being spent? So I'm going to read the list so I don't miss anything, but so where was the money being spent at Deerwood Park? EYSA provided financial statements for 2020, 2021, and 2022. These were handwritten documents that showed a starting and ending balance with total revenues and expenses listed as line items. I requested and received a copy of their August bank statement to reconcile the report with the amount on hand in their account. The 3 annual reports showed reasonably consistent amounts for concession supplies, trophies, athletic supplies, and office supplies. In my opinion, the amount spent for grounds and improvements was much too low. And it's reflected in what you see at the park when you go down there, that the facility is really lacking in maintenance. When Tom and I had our second meeting with the EYSA board a few weeks ago, we asked how many had seen the financial report and knew how much money was in their account. Not one hand was raised. The president, vice president, and treasurer were all unaware of how much money they had in the bank. Using the data provided by EYSA, I created a spreadsheet that listed their starting balance, added in all of their revenues, and subtracted all the expenses. I did this for all 3 years. The year-end balance for 2022 showed $39,429. The bank statement amount was $20,677. That left us with a discrepancy of $18,752. After going back and forth several times trying to find the error, I requested a copy of the January bank statement. It showed EYSA had $646.64, not $22,391. The startup amount was off by $21,744. Tom and I informed the EYSA board that this needed to be resolved ASAP, as well as an explanation of the registration income equaling 492 kids when there were around 600 kids on teams for 2022. I did receive multiple communications that they were working on this, and just last week before our meeting, I got an updated 2022 financial statement. The report shows additional revenue of around $3,000 from concession income, and there was also an additional $7,025 in expenses. This updated report is not reconciled against the bank statement. We did not get an explanation of why the starting amount was off, nor did we get an explanation of registration income being short for around 100 kids.
Some of the maintenance issues that we found when we walked through the place. First of all, it's obvious. You look at the ball fields, the infields are all grown up in weeds, grass. That in itself could be considered a liability due to the fact that ag line over the years it packs and becomes hard like cement. So it's basically almost like playing ball on a concrete parking lot. So those fields should probably be turned every 3 to 5 years at least, if not more.
Every 3 years.
And as far as I know, I mean, I go down there every year dealing with the campground, and I don't recall seeing those fields turned at least in the last.
Well, you can tell
6
by
years.
the amount of grass that's overgrown. Some of them haven't been done 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Who knows? They're bad.
Bathrooms, we found urinals that were cracked and one barely hanging from the wall. Lift station power box was a mess. It needs total replacement. Electrical boxes throughout both the concession stand and the bathrooms were missing blanks where there was no breakers at. So that in itself is, I think, is an electrical violation through the code. Shelter gable ends are rotting, needs painted. Probably most of you, if you drove down there, you've seen the fence by the small t-ball fields that was down most of the summer. That has since been fixed. Also, one of the urinals in the bathrooms has also since been fixed. There's used to be a water hydrant down between diamonds 5 and 6. Apparently, we asked where it went to. They said, a couple years ago it was vandalized. I'm hearing from past board members it's been more like 5 or 6 years that it's been gone. Apparently it got broke off, it was leaking at the time, and they just kind of covered it up. So I'm going to get with Chris, and sometime we're going to have to probably dig that up, make sure it's still not leaking, and try to at least get that fixed. One of the biggest things that we found is on Diamond 5 with the overhead lights. One of the lights apparently was struck by lightning 2 years ago. USA president had no knowledge of it. The maintenance guy said, yeah, it happened 2 years ago, and they just never gone up and fixed it. But it's basically dangling up there by a wire. Get a good strong wind or something like that come through, if it happened during a ball game or something like that, it could fall on a player, it could fall on a parent, child, whatever. And like we told EYSA, we're going to have to worry about insurance because they'd end up probably coming after the city on that. Because I'm sure they'd go after deep pockets, as well as EYSA's insurance. So overall, the things that have been fixed, like I said, the urinal since then has been fixed. One urinal, we've got one urinal in back order. The fence by the small T-ball fields has been fixed finally. And then now the lift station, I know they had a problem finding an electrician to get in there and look at it. Through the park board and through the Deerwood Campground, we generally use Blackhawk Electric, so we told them to give them a call. Apparently they've given them a bid of roughly $1,993 to fix that. So they're supposed to be in the process of getting that fixed as well. We haven't heard of a time or a date when that's going to be done. So based on all these findings that we found, the park board at its last meeting decided to go with Cedar Valley Sports Association for a new one-year contract. At the end of that one-year contract, if they perform satisfactorily, we'll look at a multi-year contract, and at that time we'll bring that to you guys if we so desire to keep them on. If not, then I guess the park board has an option. We can probably give them another year to get things straightened out, or we can move on and try to find another group to come in. But at this time, I think if you talk to these guys, I've known Seth probably most of his life. Used to run around with my boys, and then Rodney also the same way. Both of them are, I'm impressed with them. Let's put it that way. It's been a few years since I've seen them, but since they've been to the meeting and going over this organization, I'm very impressed with their work ethic. I'm very impressed with how quickly they put this program together. They've got a little bit yet to do, but I think after you talk to them for a little bit, I think that hopefully you'll be just as impressed with them as we were. One of you guys want to step up and give us a little rundown of what your program's about and where you're going with it?
Eeny, meeny.
Hello, I'm Seth Gerst. I'm the Vice President of CVYSA, Cedar Valley Sports.
Hi, Seth.
Hello. So I coach down there. My kids, I have 6 kids, all 6 kids play down there. I've coached down there for numerous years. I played t-ball all the way up as a kid. I'm from Evansdale here. My dad lives on the corner of Gilbert and Evans. We saw a problem, and we decided to try our way of fixing it. After we took over, after we convened a group of local members, everybody from past board members from the YSA to coaches, existing current coaches rather. Everybody's a parent on our board member that has kids plays down there. We had a couple meetings. We discussed our options, and we kind of quickly figured out that we would not be able to help the organization as it stood. We didn't have the details that they have all written out, but we saw the writing in the sand there. So we decided to create an alternative organization and pitch it to the Parks Board to as an option to utilize the diamonds down there. After a few meetings with them, with Rick and Tom, and many board meetings with my board, we was able to obviously secure the bid for the contract. So we have a lot of work to do, specifically fundraising. I can tell you guys right now that you don't have to worry about our bank account. It is at like $25. So that's our problem, not yours. But you'll see that it started off there this year too. So we're right now we're in the process of convening a fundraising committee, a marketing committee. We're reaching out to the public. That's part of the parents' big issue was no involvement allowed by the public, by myself, by Rodney, by our board members. Nobody was able to really be involved. I mean, you guys weren't even allowed technically to be involved down there, which is crazy. And so we have a board of 11, and everybody is in a committee except Rodney and myself. Well, we're in a committee, but we don't chair any committees. And then we're gathering volunteers from the general public to be part of the committees to develop our fundraising department, our marketing department, maintenance. A little bit about myself: I'm a maintenance operations manager for Crystal Cold in Waterloo. I oversee all the operations, maintenance operations for that facility, as well as 2 facilities in 2 other cities in the state. So I have a maintenance background. That's where I come from, a managerial and maintenance background. So that's, obviously I'm on the maintenance committee. So once we get our committees together, once we kind of finalize our fundraising packages, how we want to approach the public, how we want to approach potential sponsors, things like that, we intend to roll that out as quickly as possible. Part of the contract with the park boards is liability insurance department. We pulled bids for that. We're waiting on another one, but we're assuming it's going to be right around what our current bids are. So we need to fundraise to fund that so that we can begin our maintenance repairs down there. Like you heard from the park board members, there's a lot of maintenance that needs to be done down there. We've gotten some bids for lumber, things like that. We intend to do a lot of the work ourselves. We don't intend to hire out contractors unless we absolutely need to. Yeah, so we're in the fundraising phase. So that is, and Wanda's on our board too. I'm not going to let her sit back there and not call her out. So that's where we're at. I can answer any questions if you have any. But
Welcome aboard.
thank you.
We're really excited.
Thank you. So we're really excited for the change down there. Like I said, I played all through EYSA. Rodney played through EYSA. We come up in that league. We wholeheartedly understand what that particular program down there provided to the youth in the surrounding areas. Disenfranchised youth, particularly people who can't afford traveling, sports teams, things like that. And we just want to give it back to them is what we're doing. So yeah, so that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Seth. One of the other things that kind of piqued our interest with Cedar Valley Sports is they're not just looking at t-ball and softball. They're looking at other activities for the kids, fall ball, kickball, possibly soccer, that sort of thing as well. So it's something that they're looking at basically growing and making it much bigger than what we've had. And one of the things that I told them at the last meeting, I think Steve and Christy were both there, it's people that run the ball diamonds down there. I mean, they've 40 years, they're basically ambassadors of our city. They represent our city, and we need to make sure that the grounds and the personnel down there are the best that we can find. And I have a lot of faith in Seth and Rodney that they're going to clean the place up, and hopefully in the next year that we're going to have a good softball program at least, and be back on the right track where we were before.
That's
I had a
awesome.
question for you.
Yes.
Rick talked about the finances. How much money is in the bank for the softball? That money rolls over, and I know we have to have dram insurance every year when you start or whatever. Can you give me an idea tonight what that estimated cost is versus how much money's in the bank now for you to start utilizing going into the new season? Or don't you know, Tom? Do you know?
Normally starting out, how would we normally start out with each year when we had?
Back when we had it, we usually tried to stay where we had 5,000 to 10,000 at a minimum, and it kind of varied because typically, we would go 2 or 3 years between big projects, and then so you might be building up in funds a little bit to where you had $20,000 to $30,000. But typically, you tried not to get below 5,000, but 5,000 to 10,000 was comfortable.
How much money do we have right now in the EYSA bank? Yeah.
EYSA, I believe now,
Yeah.
with bills that have come in since I saw the bank statement for August, it said $20,000 some $100. They're probably down around $15,000. That money is not being forwarded to Cedar Valley.
Yeah, that's their money. They're a
They-
corporation
Oh, okay.
under
They're
a
not-
501c3.
And their
So they have-
intention is to continue.
Yeah, they have certain laws under the state of Iowa that if they dissolve or whatever, that they have certain laws that they have to follow in order to do whatever with that money. They can't just keep it, they have to donate it back or whatever. And that's the same thing with some of the equipment down there. Right now, we're in the process of, there is a lot of EYSA equipment down there, but the question is, EYSA hasn't dissolved yet. Okay, so it's up to them to donate that equipment. We're hoping that they do the right thing and donate the equipment to Cedar Valley, but that's entirely up to their board or whatever.
They can choose to donate to any nonprofit.
So maybe we'd be lucky and they might donate to these fellas
Maybe.
an ending balance that they have to keep.
I wouldn't
with,
count on it.
Yeah,
You wouldn't count on it.
right now, I'm not, yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath right now. Maybe some of the equipment, possibly. I talked to her today. We're supposed to have a meeting at the end of this weekend coming up to decide about the property, that sort of thing. So it's up to the board. We really have no control over that
You
end
know,
of it.
in the past, the city of Evansdale City Council provided it was either $2,000 or $3,000 a year to EYSA. That was discontinued when they failed to communicate and share financial information. These guys have already told you they've shared their $25 bank account. I'd like you to urge you to reconsider reinstating that donation to help with their startup costs. They've already committed to sharing everything. They're going to be an open book. Financial reports when they come to our monthly meetings. They'll tell us about the activities they're going to share, their plan for what they're going to do this year, next year. I have a lot of faith in these guys. I really believe in what they're saying and what is going to be what they actually do. So if you can find it in the budget, it would be appreciated.
And they've committed to the open elections under EYSA. Anybody that had any involvement in EYSA should have been allowed to vote for new directors. Doesn't matter if you're the maintenance guy, doesn't matter if you're a parent that volunteers down there, a concession worker or whatever, you should have had the opportunity to vote for new directors or whatever. That wasn't accomplished. One of the other things that we did put in the contract is, that's one of the things they had to put in their bylaws, is open elections. They've got 11 members on their board. I'm assuming half of them will be up for election come this next summer.
This next summer, we'll have 3 up for election,
Okay.
and then the following year will be 5, and then
Yes.
then the following year will be 4.
So you got your staggered terms.
Yep.
I think it's a great organization. I was on the board years back. I had no problem with that organization. I just want to make sure we get off the foot in the right way. We all kind of know what's going on. I myself, as one councilman, would like to know an update from you folks when we get to opening or so, what's going on, because we're the ones that get a lot of the calls. What isn't there? If you could please do that to us, I'd sure appreciate some communication and transparency versus what we've had.
And that's part of the reason why we were requiring them to attend our meetings once a month.
Sounds good.
On the flip side, Rick and I or another park board member may also attend their meetings. So we may not go to every one of them, but we may show up at a meeting once a month or whatever. Just like I said, to keep that line of communication open, and hopefully we don't run into the problems that we've had before.
That's what we're hoping for.
Any other questions?
I'd just like to state, Tom, Rick, you and your board work, thank you for the additional increased effort. I know, Tom, you and I got to talk about this before I had left about a month ago, so I was kind of privy of what the change was coming. And then to you gentlemen as well, to your members that have taken up, you're the kind of people we want in our community. Regardless of your board, regardless of your purpose, you saw a need and you're getting paid squat for it. That's a hard pill to swallow, but absolutely the kind of people we want in our community. And my hat's off to you, and my thanks to you as well for the effort, the time, and things that you're going to, especially for our kids in our community. So thank you very much for everything you've put forth so far.
Thank you.
And I just want to add on to that. I've said it several times to Tom and Rick, but I want to commend you because it was a journey. It took a lot of your time. There was a lot of things that you had to put together. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the initiative and running with this. And I'm hoping that we have an awesome program going forward. And, we'll look at, things that you guys suggest for the future. So thank you very much. And just a round of applause. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Number 7 on our agenda is approval of the consent agenda. I have a motion, please.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 8, approval of the resolution calendar.
So moved.
Second.
Can that be a roll call, please?
Smock.
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
Nichols. Osborne.
Yes.
Siebel.
Yes.
Number 9 is resolution 6650, setting compensation for Dalton Epley. We will have you meet him maybe at our next meeting where you will swear him in.
Yeah.
Okay.
He has an appointment on the 21st, so after that he should be
Okay.
up and running.
Awesome. I will take a motion to, do you want to explain just a little bit about our new member?
Well, he comes to us from Cedar Falls. He's certified, and he had about a year's worth of experience over at Cedar Falls. So we had some discussion, the mayor and I, as to where he would fall regarding his wage. And I think the mayor reached out to the city attorney to get some direction on what the city attorney thought. I think the city attorney suggested a second-year patrolman wage. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Yep. Since he was going to be going into a second year anyway.
Correct.
Yep. So, resolution 6650 is
I'll make a
setting his pay.
motion to set the compensation.
Okay.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Bergman.
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Osborne.
Yes.
Siebel.
Yes.
Smock.
Yes.
Number 10 is public hearing on proposed amended and restated plan for Evansdale Urban Revitalization Area. I'll take a motion to open the public hearing, please.
I'll make that motion to open the public hearing on this situation.
Second.
The public hearing tonight, we discussed it as we were setting the public hearing. We are amending our urban revitalization area. It's just to include some of the things were for before the residential was tiered, and it was like, if you're building a house that was from 0 to $199.99, it was, you would get 3 years of abatement from your taxes. And then it just went on up to 5 years. It was suggested by our bond council to do 5 years. There's a lot of cities that do 100% at 5 years. We are not able to do that because we're not a blight community, but we are able to do $75,000 for 5 years. So that's part of this amendment that we're doing. Also, for future development, we're looking at commercial businesses that are either adding to their business or building a new business here in our city, that they'd be eligible for 3 years of a full rebate from their taxes, or 10 years at a sliding scale. And that's for commercial as well as multi-residential. And those are the 3 amendments that we're doing to our revitalization plan. Does the public have any questions or concerns?
Make a motion to close the public hearing and if no discussion.
Second.
Okay. Number 11, Resolution 6651 is adopting the amended and restated urban revitalization plan for the Evansdale urban revitalization area.
I'll make that resolution motion for 6651, adopting and amending the reinstated urban revitalization plan for Evansdale urban revitalization area.
I missed that, Steve. What was that?
Okay, sorry.
Next time I'm not reading that, Steve.
Yeah,
With that motion, I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Siebel,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Bergman,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Osborne.
Oh, gotta love it. Number 12 is ordinance 685, amending nuisance abatement process to include person in possession of nuisance in our first reading. So we, which we all know, we've been looking at this property for several years, and it's a property located on Grand Boulevard. I should know better. We had talked to the owner of the property, because it is a rental property, and he stated, have at it. You know, go after these people, but, you know, technically, we can't, because our ordinance didn't allow us to do so. So this is just updating our ordinance just by simply adding the person that's in possession of the nuisance. So that will give us authority to go in there and also issue municipal infractions to the renter, because as we know, we do have quite a few rental properties in this city, and sometimes it could be the renter and not the owner that is causing the nuisance. Any questions?
The owner should be responsible for his own property. I mean, he's got,
Yep.
so he don't.
He is as well. I mean, any notice that we send out for any kind of nuisance goes to the renter and the owner. So
I got a lot of rental property, and if there's a violation there, I let them know, and if they don't clean it up, we clean it up, and they're gone.
okay.
So it's, and bill it to them. We usually never get it, but it's,
Well, this would give the city grounds to, obviously, we would never be able to assess the property owner. I mean, we would never be able to assess the renter, but only the property owner if we were going to do a cleanup. However, this will enable us to give the renter the municipal infraction. So this just adds just a little teeny layer in it, because some of the properties that we're dealing with right now for nuisance, it is the renter.
no, I say something should be done. It would have been after I said, I think, when I was on the council last time, to clean that mess up over there.
Yeah,
For some reason it got stalled.
yeah, well, we're
I think it
going.
was all political.
We're going. We're after it.
So the owner's going to be, like, when we serve them this infraction, they'll get it served too still, and ultimately they're responsible.
We can only, you know, if we ended up going in there and cleaning it up, we would give the owner the chance to do so first, obviously. We can only assess the owner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, truly, he can evict his tenant.
Yeah,
He
yes.
should,
Yeah.
if the tenant isn't abiding by the. But that's him. I don't think this is going to hurt adding this, but
No, it'll just give us just a little bit more room to work with maybe the renter and the landlord. You know, the landlord is saying, yeah, go after it, but we can't.
yeah.
So,
Landlord.
but the landlord should too.
Yes,
You're right.
I feel like he should, or chief, whoever,
Yeah.
should step up and
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm done, you're gone. But if he doesn't, then we'll go after both.
What? It sounds like we've contacted legal on this, Deanna.
Yes,
or-
obviously, yeah.
And they were
He
fine.
did the ordinance and
defend-
everything.
Okay, I was
Yes.
that was my
Yep.
concern is if we
Yeah.
put it in there and can't go after them, well, what's it worth trying to do this then? Because
That's
I
correct.
agree, everything I seen is it's on the property owner, and
Yeah,
my response to that owner is, sure, go after him, is not my job.
right,
Your taxable property, you're the one that's liable for that property.
right.
You figure out your renter. After that, I don't care who has to deal with it, but we're coming after the tax base. And if this helps that, and if it's something to do for the landlords and we can help it, then I'm all for it. But in the end, I just want to make sure that it's still wrote clear that
It is.
it's property. It's the tax base. And regardless of your renters, and I know some are just crappy renters, it's still your responsibility. That's the game you're playing if you're a landlord.
Most of the time, if the property owners don't clean it up themselves for the renter, if the renters don't clean it up, if they get billed, they're the ones get billed, and
Yep.
they try to reflect it, and the people got nothing, so.
Yep. Oh, and I agree. It goes both ways.
Yeah, you don't get
Absolutely.
the money, but you
No, we
can
did a motion to
put
open
it
the
on
public
a,
hearing.
you know, you can put a judgment on them, but most of those people don't get to impact them. They're not gonna, you can try to garnish their wages, just jump from job
Yeah,
to
and
job
that's
to get it, but.
exactly. And that's, I just want to make sure we're not in a full-on cycle battle with a renter that's just going to up and leave town, and now we've got to go track them down to anywhere when ultimately it's the property.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I heard he was related to the owner, I don't know.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
I don't
I
know
hope
if that's
not.
true or not. Anyway, that's neither here nor there
I
at this
don't know,
time, but
that's just what I heard, somebody told me. that.
yeah. And that's not the discussion at this time. It's if you want to add this language, just, it just helps us as a city to do our job to get rid of some of these nuisance, so.
There's a couple more of them in town too.
Yeah, we know.
More than
We're
just a
working
couple.
on them.
So is this where we can make a motion?
Yeah, make a motion, yep.
Because, I'm okay, we're just adding it, I don't.
We're
feel
just- yeah, we're just adding.
I think we can, I'll make a motion, do I
Okay.
need to say the whole thing, sorry?
Yeah, go ahead and read the whole thing.
Yeah,
well, it would just be to approve in its first reading, correct?
yes,
Yeah.
yep.
With a total of 3 readings needed.
I was gonna ask for a motion to
Okay.
waive the rules, actually.
So I'll second Christie's motion
Okay.
to adopt.
So, just before we go on, Ron, did you have a question?
Discussion in your thing. What guidelines do you go by to declare a property a nuisance?
It's in chapter 50 and 51 of our code. There's several. Too lengthy to even go into it. Because it could be junk on the property, it could be, there's several different things. It's just if it's a nuisance. It could be, even a nuisance could be something that causes excessive odor. So,
We've got a lot of things in the ordinance that, nobody is taking care of anyway, so them items, I think we should go through the ordinance and throw them out. If we aren't gonna enforce them, throw them out.
no, we are enforcing them. We are starting on taking
There's a
care
bunch of cars sitting in the ditch, or in the ditch in their yard with the grass growing all up over it, that's illegal. Campers, them ordinances, if we're not gonna enforce them, let's get rid of them.
Okay, so I know some of you are aware of this. Actually, I don't even know, it was actually to Steve, because we have pretty much when Troy was in office,
Yep.
right?
Well,
You know what I'm
tried to
gonna say?
We tried to go to put that in there, and at that time, that mayor said we weren't gonna go after people with cars sitting in the yard as long as it wasn't permanent damage and it was mowed around it. It was too much, it caused a lot of ruckus in town. And I agree with you, Ron, where you're going with it. I don't like it either, but unless the council decides to take it full board the other way.
And that's not this meeting to
if you're not
discuss
gonna-
No,
because
I'm
it's
not
not
just
on there,
telling you.
but we need to have that discussion. I'll put it on the next agenda. We need to move forward. We need to say, review what we have, and because it gets out of hand, and it's gotten out of hand again because people are like, well, there's nobody enforcing it. But we do have people enforcing it.
But there's a lot of things that isn't enforced. I just drive through town and I can find you 10
Yeah.
code violations in 3 or 4 blocks.
Yes.
I guess I'm thinking that it would be hard to enforce a whole bunch of stuff. I think it'd be hard to enforce everything.
It is, that's why it shouldn't be on just get rid of it.
Yeah. How big is that chapter?
You can look at it in your free time.
Good reading
50 and
material.
51.
And just for sake of the conversation, not too far off, Ron, I agree, and I've said this several times to the mayor, that if it's in there and we ain't going to enforce it, then what good is it? And get rid of it. But I would like to sit on the opposite, that even talking with the mayor, several properties, and I know I've been involved with 4 now, that we have sent things
Yes.
to, is, you know, again, we just have part-time code enforcement, but he's been out. I've actually had a couple of issues sent my way via email of people upset with him and things, and I'm with it. I don't want my neighbor's yard to look like junk, and then I've got to, you know, worry about all the other problems that come with it. And I think we should hold everybody to the same standard. If not, get rid of the rule.
Like the one in question, I mean, the property around it, most of the people keep them
Mhm.
maintained good.
Yep. And I think it's just we had to start somewhere,
That's
because
not
it is
nice
a
work for
cost to the
around
city
it.
and time and money and
And they
resources.
don't pay no attention because nothing done about it.
Yep. So. Motion, Christie, was it just in the first?
Yeah, that was the first reading. I would take a motion to waive the second and third reading.
I think we need
Did we
to
vote on the first?
We didn't
No.
vote on the
Oh, I'm
first.
sorry, we didn't do
Yep,
a roll
we
call.
didn't vote
I
on that.
apologize. Roll call, please.
Smock,
Yes.
Bergman,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Siebel.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to waive the second, third reading for this amendment.
Second.
Roll call on the waiving of the second and third reading.
Bergman,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Siebel,
Yes.
Smock.
Yes.
And I'll take a motion to adopt
You need a motion
ordinance
to adopt?
685.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Nichols,
Yes.
Osborne,
Yes.
Siebel,
Yes.
Smock,
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. We'll get that for publishing. Once it's published, it will be in effect, and we will go down that road again and start dealing with this other gentleman. Number 13, request from Chief Dean to allow the purchase in the amount of $350 for Sergeant Weber's service weapon. In the past, as you know, again, I'm probably referring to just Steve and Ron, who've been on past council. We had given the service weapon to that officer, and then we received an audit comment to that due to gifting rules. So Chief Dean had asked me to check into what we can do in order to allow Sergeant Weber to buy his service weapon. And our auditor responded that we needed to have market value. So Chief Dean, as you saw in your packet, did get the value somewhere between $350 and $380, and we'd like to consider a motion to let him purchase that service weapon for $350.
I'd make that motion to request from Chief Dean to allow the purchase in the amount up to $350 to $380 range for Sergeant Weber's service weapon.
Are we buying it from,
No, he's
Yeah.
buying it.
He's buying it
Right.
from us.
he's buying it from us,
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
and that's
To
what
re-
we're gonna charge him?
Yep. To retire that weapon, which is a used firearm that he's carried with him. Yep.
For 31 plus years.
I think it'd be worn
Well,
out by now. How many
Yeah, I
times
think
you-
we
Not,
probably
not
have-
quite that bad,
Yeah.
but it's been a while.
I don't think they've had those as service weapons. I don't know.
Not for
But
31
I think,
years, but
I think I can
old
remember my
enough.
dad
Is-
having
yeah.
those.
Is that his original service weapon?
I'm not sure about that.
Okay.
Because you would have cycled through
Like
a
the
Glock
revolvers
generation.
and-
It's
well,
a
maybe not.
sentimental thing.
Yep. And that's
Yeah.
just it. It's something he's carried with. It's very common practice. In fact, I have my father's Blackhawk County being engraved and everything. It's still on it. I have his Glock. So,
That's cool.
Don't go to Justin's house, by the way.
Right.
All in
Works great.
favor?
Aye.
yes.
Opposed? Number 14, a request from Public Works Director to replace asphalt in an amount not to exceed $2,500 on Deerwood Road, which is between the trail, top of the levee, and EYSA. That busted out, months ago?
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It's been quite bad for quite some time. His team has already leveled it out,
Cut.
right?
We
And
cut.
cut it and,
Yeah.
and put the rock in it, and he just needs to get asphalt in there before,
I make a motion to replace the asphalt.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Request to apply and sign for a wastewater and drinking water treatment financial assistant grant application. The grant is due next week on the 28th. Currently, our McClure Engineering is working on that for us.
They're writing the grant?
Yes. Yep.
Nice. Oh,
So
how much
moved.
is it for? Do you know?
I believe it's going to be 600,000.
Oh,
It's a big one.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I'll make a motion for that.
Okay.
Way to go.
I thought it was from the public, I thought.
No, this is for our wastewater treatment plant rehabilitation.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Request from Bendable Equities to extend closing date for lots 1 and 3 of Eagles Landing. The closing date, as you saw on the request, was till December 31st of 2022.
Why are we doing that, extending it?
Well, I mean, it'd be different if we had, someone hot in the, ready to buy or whatever. But they, it's kind of the times we're in. It's difficult, it's difficult to get restaurants involved. It's difficult to get, one of the things they're going to do on lot 1 is going to be a strip mall, and it's difficult getting those commitments right now. So they just want that. They are going to, for an absolute fact, for lot 1, are going to be breaking ground in the spring. I know that for a fact. So they just want an extension to closing because obviously they can get more of their legwork done before that happens.
There's nothing.
Strip of ground between McDonald's and the road way to the park. Or in
Between is it McDonald's and the interstate?
No, McDonald's and the property the city owns that you just paved. There's a McDonald's parking lot that's all grown up in weeds and trees and everything else, so it's not a very good
Okay.
presentation of
Oh,
the property back there
okay.
when everything looks like hell. And
That's McDonald's. McDonald's owns
I
that.
would contact them because it is
Okay.
grown up in weeds.
Okay.
They keep their property up pretty well, but except that section.
Okay. I will.
You better cut the trees out of there, and even if the city had to do it, if they okayed it, because it would give you better visibility.
Okay.
And also, all the trees growing up along the interstate around there, nobody's gonna see nothing back in there anyway. Unless the city does something with that.
Chris, are those our trees though, or are they belong to DOT?
DOT.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's on the DOT side of the fence.
I think it's on our side of the fence, a lot of them. And I still don't, and me and Steve too went down there and looked at the property behind McDonald's there. It shows on the map that it's for hotels, and you said the city, that isn't part of the city, so where can we get a decent map so we know what's what?
As far as Eagles Landing?
Yeah.
I have one in my office you can have.
Yeah, I had
Or I can email it to you.
Yeah, email it to me, because
Okay.
if it's one like I got, that don't tell you nothing either. It shows a picture, but
I have actually the
don't have
final
it.
plat. I could send you the final plat.
no, that's what I need.
Ron, in the one discussion I've been involved with, a couple of them, Chris has told us straight out that he does not think a hotel will build there. I'm not trying to put bad news out, but
No, I'm
that's
not.
a
I'm
fact
saying
we're
that
hearing
too.
from
There's a lot of
everybody.
hotels on it around.
Well,
But if you can't see the place, the public.
Right, I respect that, yeah, I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying.
and the problem is with the hotel industry right now is they have a 5% occupancy rate. No hotel in their right mind is going to build another hotel with 5% occupancy rate. That's not going to happen. And if you've been to a hotel lately, their rates have really went up just to help offset costs. So,
Even if they don't build any hotels there, I still wanna know where the property line is.
that's fine.
That's why.
Not a problem at all.
Cause it shows.
I'm usually
before.
here 5 days a week, 40, 50 hours. If you ever want to get a hold of me and ask me these questions, I'm here, so.
I didn't know that.
I think you do.
I can make a motion to approve the extension, which is approximately, looks like 90 days.
Yep.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public discussion.
Kelly Parker, Marion Street. I just want to thank the council for the work you did adjusting the compensation packets for the police department. I'm thrilled that we have a full-time and a part-time new hire. Great job, guys.
Thank you.
And just to be, no, I'm sorry, public discussion.
Yeah.
That's it?
Anyone else for public discussion? Going. Mayor council reports?
And just a kind of a question, also a comment, Chief Dean, it looked like through it, we have a civil service list now as well, correct?
Yes.
More than just the 2 officers that are
Yeah.
hired, we have a list to go off of if and when we need more.
The quick and easy answer is yes, we have a list.
Okay. So as where we were struggling to get even that much before, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I was just thrilled even just to see some more names on a list. You know, even if they're not the candidate for us, we at least have candidates. So we're moving in the right direction.
Are they all valid candidates, Officer Dean?
That's what I was trying to avoid.
I wasn't going there. I was just saying at least we had a list.
Many of those applicants are not viable applicants.
Well, one of them was, and you actually did offer to him initially.
Without going into a lot of detail yet.
Yes, right.
What about the ones you talked about, Mayor, to me one time that we got?
That was what we found out, or what the chief found out, so. We had a list and it got crossed off as we went. Or as he went, I just listened.
Sure. At least it's being seen. You know,
Yeah.
it did have an impact, which is what we were hoping for,
Right.
without having to further extend. So, I mean, we're seeing progress. You know, we're not continuing to go backwards. We're hopefully going to continue to get officers back on the street. And good candidates, young, good candidates. I'm hoping I'm saying that correctly.
Yes.
That smell is still down there at that lift station.
Oh, I thought you were going to led right in behind me, had that smell. I'm like, "Gee, thanks, Ron. I'm sorry."
Would you like to speak to the smell at Arbutus lift station? Yes.
Not really, no.
And pronounce your last name.
Homebrecker.
Homebrecker, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Steve Homebrecker. I work for People Service. I'm considered their operator in charge. They're using my license, and I'm doing a lot more stuff now that Ryan's not there.
Yes.
I'm not as heavily involved in the lift stations as Jordan and some of them, but I think this is the lift station where we tried a different grease and odor control chemical to save cost, and I don't think it worked, and we've gone back to the old one.
Yes.
So has it gotten better, or?
It hasn't gotten any better. I went down there, 2 days ago, and you couldn't stand it.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Well, let me do some more checking and then I'll get back
Yeah.
to you.
That, so twice since
Yeah.
we've had the last meeting that I went past there, and that smells so bad.
Well, they started the new chemical last Wednesday. Is that correct?
I know
Or was
sometime
it-
within the last week, we went back.
Yeah, it was just last Wednesday. Normally, it would take about a week, but
So it's not been a full week yet.
Yeah, I
No,
told
it's-
the people that
but-
he was gonna change it that week, or they're starting the next week, and.
well, we had to wait until they got the chemicals in.
Sometimes it
was
takes a
like-
while to get
At the
that.
time,
Yeah.
we have that next few days, but
Yes.
I'll wait and see now, see if things get better.
Let me find out and I'll get with you.
Yes, and I will let you know.
It isn't bothering me, but it's bothering some people down the street.
If it's bothering somebody else, it's gonna have an effect on you.
Yeah, right. Thank you, Steve. I
Yes.
appreciate that.
And I don't think anyone can argue for that one. That's
was a
not,
good statement.
exactly. That's not going to be a battle we want to fight.
So I have a couple things. We're just like on the bright side here. We're working with a company that is also interested in Eagles Landing, lots 4 through 6. We actually had talked about that with Councilor Siebel and Councilor Smock. Had met with Chris Fischels and myself. I'll keep you posted as information becomes available. But it looks like we would do maybe possibly a 2-year. And I think that that's what we were kind of hoping for and looking for. And from what I understand, they're working on the plans. So again, I'll keep you abreast to the situation as it unfolds. We're also working with 2 different developers on possible Lafayette Road development, the old nursery land. There is 2 different developers looking at that, to doing condos very similar to what are on Dodge Street. So like they're the double condos, and they would be either for purchase or for rent. So that's very interesting and something moving forward very well for our community. I also would like to give you an update on the wastewater treatment plant project. And I'm going to read Alex's email verbatim. The wastewater treatment plant improvement project is on schedule for submittal to Iowa DNR wastewater engineering for permitting at the end of October. Our team is currently working diligently through the final design, which is, I guess, like they do 80% when it comes to this point. You know, the other 20 they've done and jumped through all the hoops they needed to do. The final design process to meet this deadline, and we feel confident we will hit it. Later this afternoon, I will share with you our current work in progress set of construction plans that is close to 90% complete. One of the more recent changes since our last meeting was removal of the parallel 16-inch force main from the project. However, there are still many items to be addressed ahead of this submittal. So please keep that in mind if you and any others review the drawings in detail. I haven't received those yet, by the way. Our most recent total project cost that they have to date, we're still on track for where we were at in the beginning, the original plans that we did approve. The current project schedule assumes the Iowa DNR construction permitting process will take approximately 60 days to complete. While it's difficult to put an exact number on this, in our experience, 60 days is about average for this type of project. Some projects take longer and others naturally take less. We would like to start the advertising and bidding process after we have the construction permit in hand. Doing so reduces risk in the city in the event of the unforeseen. Required changes to the project, which is especially important given the complex nature of floodplain permitting on this project. Assuming the 60-day permitting window holds and the city agrees with our approach, the bidding process may begin around January 1st, 2023. We would like to advertise this project for at least 4 weeks based on its size and anticipated popularity, which puts a bid letting into early February. Assuming a favorable bid is received, construction could start on or around March 1st, 2023, which is in line with the most recent schedules we have presented. So I think that was important because it seemed like it'd been a long time since we heard anything. And I've heard, you know, when people come in to pay their water bill, you know, how are we coming with a wastewater treatment plant? So I think even as our public and our residents are concerned, it's nice to let them know what's going on as well.
Absolutely, they're paying for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Point blank, we're paying for it.
Yes, this is the truth. I'd like to, you know, nothing that we can vote on, but I would like to reach out to our very responsive city attorney regarding some issues that I don't feel that we've completely addressed in the past. One of them was the billboard. Okay.
That's something I was going to bring up, the zoning ordinances.
Yes.
Because it's about as vague as.
Yeah.
I read that, I can't even understand it.
It's very confusing. I completely agree with that. One of our planning and zoning committee is meeting next week, and that will be something that I also talked to the chair of that committee for them to start thinking in that direction as well.
That's a good idea.
So, and the other thing I think was very vague, and maybe we could get some clarification on, and that was the mobile homes.
See, the problem with planning and zoning is there's a lot of good people on there, but what do they know about construction? What do they know about this and zoning?
Right.
It's something new, and it's probably got to be on the board 4 or 5 years before they understand what's going on.
Yeah.
And even then, if you can understand it, it's the way it's written up, that I can't understand it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of areas that are very vague, and it's hard to, decipher those. And even, when people come in sometimes to City Hall and ask us, it's difficult for us to give them the answer. So we call Steve. So, just give us some direction, Ron. Which way do you think we should improve this planning and zoning manual? We can work amongst ourselves. We could start bringing it maybe in some examples from other cities, and then...
Because what I can't understand is how come you got from where it was to where it is now. Because way back, they took all of the signs out. There used to be signs right here, both sides of Evans Road, big billboard signs. And when Evansdale became a town, they had all of them made ordinances that there's no billboards in the city limits except the one that's up here. And that didn't bother nobody because it was on the edge. Unless it was attached to the building or in front of the building, it must pertain to the property it's in front of. Not advertising billboards like that here.
Okay. Well, I personally like to ask our city attorney to get clarification on that.
Yeah,
because it was very vague.
The way it's written now, I look through there and I can't understand it.
Well, and I'm in agreement with that.
So I think it'd be good to have them look at it and see what...
Okay. Council?
I'll visit with you on my things rather than going on.
Okay. I'll take a motion and adjourn then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Stay here.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.